Welcome to an experience powered by Pipe TV.
The love of our community speaks. Real talks, real solutions.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm your host, Marcie Novella, and welcome to the Love of Our Community Speaks. Today is a real treat because I'm going back to my roots in South Carolina. I have a panel of authors, all from the area that I grew up at. Please welcome CC Lamb. Say hello, CC. CC?
Hi.
Hi, CC. Good to have you. We have a special connection. We'll talk about that later. And also, SHAREE and RHONDA, Washington. Say hello, ladies.
Hello.
And last but not least, WILLA McGirt-SINGLETON. Now, say hello.
Hello.
Now, I said that all of you are special to me, and it's true. Let me just give you all the connections. All you ladies are authors, including myself, and all of you are from South Carolina. WILLA is my first cousin on my father's side. SHAREE and RHONDA, Washington, are my first cousins on my mother's side. And CC Lamb and I went to middle school and high school at Macedonia. So please give it up. So I met CC when I was 10. So it's a pleasure to have all of you on the show. So without any further ado, I just want to take the time to congratulate all of you on your great accomplishments. And I'm going to start with just asking questions with inspiration for each of you. We'll start in this order. I'll go CC, SHAREE and RHONDA, and WILLA. So CC, what was your inspiration behind your book, which is called The Weeds of Cain? I really enjoyed this book, The Weeds of Cain.
The inspiration after I wrote my first book, Vindication, I wanted this one to be very, very different. People wanted a sequel, so I said, I'm going in the complete opposite direction. And we grew up in South Carolina, and I wanted to pay homage to South Carolina since I wasn't living there at the time. So that was my real inspiration. I wanted to talk about the place, the people, the way they speak, the specific ways we speak, and specifically the places. Monk's Corner, right? Goose Creek, Mount Pleasant, all those places that most people don't know about. So that was the real inspiration when I started writing.
And don't forget, you mentioned Highway 1741 and Highway 45 representing Alvin. Yes, you did. So I really appreciate that.
Yes, and it was inspirational because when I was growing up there, all I wanted to do was leave. But now that I'm older, I really love the way that we grew up, and I got a greater love for the place. So I really wanted to highlight it.
I can agree to that. I'm always talking about being back home to visit and what it means to me to see my classmates, my family, and my good friends. So I can agree to what you're saying. Okay. SHAREE and RHONDA, can you tell what was the inspiration behind your book?
Well, I'll start off. The I guess our inspiration was our niece. She's in her early 20s, and we just wanted to write a book in regard to her health and wealth to give her a head start in life. Things that we have done that we think would benefit her, and things that, you know, we wish we had done, started off with. And she just inspired us, and her daughter, Sunny.
Sharee, anything to add to that?
The only thing I just wanted to add is we talk about achieving health and wealth as a family. And so everyone knows about the connection Rhonda and I have, being twins. But it's also, in addition to our nieces, our brothers, we talk about a little bit about our parents, how we got on track with health and wealth, and some of the beginning phases that they presented to us, and it just took us a while to put everything together. But now here we are almost half a century later, and we're just now, seeing things in a perspective that we should be doing things together as a family, and bringing it back down to our niece and her daughter, and just collectively, we can all achieve health and wealth.
Thank you for that. Now, you're going to have to share that at the family reunion. So y'all better be ready, have your books ready to answer all the questions, okay? And Willa, how about you? Who was your inspiration?
Well, my inspiration really came from my son, Jeremy. Jeremy's now 31 years old. He lives in Los Angeles, but when he was in elementary school, we discovered that he had ADHD. And so if you look at my book, Andrew Dennis Harper Davis, his initials stand for ADHD. So the purpose of this was really to highlight the positive things about children who are neurodivergent, because we know sometimes things can be difficult for them in school, even in their friendships. But I wanted to show Andrew as a superhero, and that he has lots of great characteristics.
So Andrew is Jeremy's journey.
Andrew is Jeremy's journey, exactly. I did not have to use any creative powers here, because everything we see in all three of the books are things that Jeremy actually did. So children love Andrew because they can relate to him. And I've read in school sometimes, and a child will say to me later, I'm ADHD. So they really identify with him strongly.
Now, Willa, I wanted to ask you, because your book has a lot of great graphics. Was that your vision, or how did you come up with those beautiful pictures?
Good question. I did not know where to start with that. And of course, I talked to Jeremy, and he recommended me to use a company called Fiverr. And so I went on Fiverr, and I found the illustrator on Fiverr, and I've used the same person for all three books because I wanted Andrew's likeness to continue across the series.
Wow, that's so amazing. Now, I just want to go into details with each of your books, and I got a few questions to ask each of you. Now, Willa, I asked you your question about Jeremy and the inspiration and everything, but I know he got better from this point because he is so amazing. He's an entertainer, and he's doing really well. But when you came up with the book, how did Jeremy feel about it? I was curious to know that.
That's a really good question, because I wrote this book back in 2010, and it sat forever. And, after losing my mom 2 years ago, I was decluttering, and I came across it. And I called Jeremy, and he said, Mom, you have to do something with it. And I said, are you sure? Are you okay with that? And he said, yeah, that's my story. That's my journey. It tells who I am. So he's not embarrassed at all about having ADHD. He realizes that that's part of the creative process, because the more we learn about ADHD and neurodivergence, we learn that those people are really creative. They're very focused on their talent. And in some of the things that I share with parents, people like Simone Biles, Jim Carrey, Justin Bieber. So there are some people who have really focused on their craft because they've learned to hyper focus on the things that they're really good at. And so Jeremy did not mind me sharing that part of his story.
Now, Cece, I wanted to mention about your French expressions in the book. And of course, I had to ask, did a lot of that came from the inspiration of having our teacher, Madame Way, who introduced French to us in school?
Absolutely. I took French, we took French in high school. And I recall that my senior year, I'd done it so well that she allowed me to teach some classes with her. And I had always dreamed of going to Paris. And I got the opportunity to do so on my honeymoon. We were stationed in Germany at the time, so it was even easy to travel in Europe. And I had the opportunity to go to Paris and speak the language. And when I was writing, I don't know at what point I decided to incorporate French, but it was surreal trying to remember how to speak it, what was correct and not correct. So I had to do a lot of research to make sure I was doing it correctly.
Well, you're a natural. CC was in our top 5 percentile in class, so you was always a scholar. I just wanted a passing grade, so it was important to me to do the math aspect of school. I didn't see the benefits of having the French class, but I enjoy the class, so I can understand why you would want to further that. Now, everybody, we're gonna come back and take a break, and we'll talk more about our female authors in South Carolina. So just give us a few minutes to just stretch our legs and get back, and we'll share more. Stay tuned at The Love of Our Community Speaks.
Pretty women often wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute. I built a suit a fashion model size. But when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's the reach of my arms. It's the span of my hips. It's the stride of my step and the curl of my lips. 'Cause I'm a woman. Phenomenally phenomenal woman, that's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please. And to a man, the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me like a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes. It's the flash of my teeth. It's the swing in my waist and the joy in my feet. 'Cause I'm a woman, phenomenally phenomenal woman, that's me. Now, men themselves have often wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they cannot touch my inner mystery. And when I try to tell them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back. It's in the sun of my smile. It's in the ride of my breasts and the grace of my style. 'Cause I'm a woman, phenomenally phenomenal woman, that's me. Now, you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about. I have to talk real loud. But when you see us passing, it ought to make you feel proud. I say it's the click of my heels. It's the bend of my hair. It's the palm of my hand and the need for my care. 'Cause I'm a woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's Toni.
Welcome back to The Love of Our Community Speaks. I'm here with authors CeCe Lamb, RHONDA and SHAREE Washington, and WILLA McGurk-Singleton. I didn't forget about you ladies, SHAREE and RHONDA. You have your book, The Resolution Pack, the blueprint to achieving health and wealth together as a family. Now, any one of you could answer this, because in your book, we talk about how to take care of yourself physically and mentally, but financially, as a group of people, we don't do it collectively with our families. In your book, you mentioned that your parents refinanced their home so that you can have a good start with your investments and savings. Could one of you elaborate more on that?
Okay, so yes, so when we went to college, my dad was very adamant that we would not take out loans, personal loans. And so what he and my mom did is they basically took out a form of a HELOC loan, like a home equity line. And they used that to pay for our education. Tax purposes, my dad, he was always like, well, I can just write it off. And so just blessed that we had parents who was looking out for our best interests so that when we got out of school, undergraduate, we had no loans and we were able to start right away with a good financial standing. And so even though neither of us have kids, and our two nieces at this point in time have not gone to college, we have set up a 529 for our grandniece, just in case she makes a decision to go to college. If not, she can always use the money for other purposes. There's some tax implications for that if it's not used in education, but we wanted to do something that our parents kind of did for us.
Well, what was special about that was that you talked about generation wealth and how important that is. Now, I know sometimes you got to help those who help themselves. Your family was able to work together. Aunt Diane and Uncle Ronald is really big on that. Now, some of y'all may not know this, but my mother has 7 sisters. And Aunt Diane was one of the ones that were the working person. Most of them were stay-at-home moms and had their husbands or significant others go out and make a living. So because of that, they were not able to pass on that generation wealth because they just didn't have the circumstances. So I want to ask you, how can someone push forward to give that generation wealth and move on when they don't have the foundations themselves?
Well, I know SHAREE started some of her retirement at a later age, like in her early 40s, almost mid 40s. And what I would say is when you start off with your job, like my niece, she just got her 401k last week. And
early start.
She got an early start. But the thing I'm trying to get her to also do, this is maybe once she gets the habit, and that's in the book, is you have to start off with, first is your mindset, you set your numbers, and then there's the habit of always putting that same amount of money aside every month. So once she gets used to the 401k or 403b, the next thing we would like for her to open is a brokerage account. And then that's where the generation wealth really starts, because you can easily open up an account like with Fidelity or Schwab or Vanguard, and you just put money aside in there, and you can put much money as you want. some people even put savings in there and then use the money to pay for a car outright, all cash. Some people use that brokerage account as what's called bridge account, and that's pretty primary what I'm using mine as, is I'm trying to put as much money in it so when I get into my later 50s, 60s, I can start drawing from that instead of going right into what I've earned from my job. Or a Roth IRA.
Wow, that's amazing, ladies, because they didn't teach this in school. And now they're teaching financial literacy. So we can certainly benefit from that. Now, Cece, I would like to go back to you because we talked about a lot of familiar things that I could relate to. In your book, you mentioned location-wise, Halsey and Ralph Avenue was right around the corner from where I lived when I got married. So I just was really caught up with your book because we got the South Carolina areas that I can relate to. And then you bring it to Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy. I was in Bed-Stuy for 30 years. So I really, really love the parallel of all the things that I could see. I could visualize your book. And although it's fictional, it was real. One of the things that really was impressive was the parallel with Dave. Can you share how you got to really plug into those two characters?
Which characters?
It was Dave. Did I say his name right?
I think it's, sorry, I'm mixing up books. Yes.
Yes. The husband and the Mr.
Yes. Yes. The places as an author, one of the things that I learned when I was starting to write and being mentored just a bit was that books should come to life. When people read them, they should see the places, feel the places. So when I write,
I felt it. I really did.
so
Felt that courtroom scene. I felt outside in the streets. I felt everything.
And I do see it in my head as a movie. So when I'm writing, most of the time my brain is working faster than I can type or that I can write because I'm envisioning it as I write. As far as the characters are concerned, my writing process is, I don't know if it's different or the same as many authors, but I start with an outline. And the first thing I do is say, what's the gist of the entire book? So I knew I wanted for it to take place in South Carolina. I knew I wanted it to start in New York where I was living at the time. So that part was pretty easy for me. As far as the characters are concerned, it's like a puzzle that I put together. Some characters don't exist immediately. I think about
it felt real to me. I could tell you, I was like, is this person her case study? Is she flipped it and put some stories to it to protect her identity? Did you do that at all?
often get that question. My first book, Vindication, is about one woman's journey. And people always said, is this you? She's a single mother. No, she's not me. But
no, I knew this wasn't your story. I knew that much.
Anything can give me inspiration. So
it was.
The characters, the language, of course, is South Carolina origin. Some of it is things that my father has said or I've heard over the years, my grandmother has said, and at the time it didn't make sense to me as a child, but now that I'm an adult, it was like, oh, that was from the Bible, or oh, this is how they told stories my grandmother was cherishing.
It made sense to me. I could identify, definitely. Definitely.
So it's a big puzzle that starts with these many pieces, and by the time I'm finished, I kind of move all the pieces together so that the reader can move through the book and understand. But it doesn't always start that way.
So Willa, I also had a thought about your books. I could see it being a cartoon. Has that ever been presented to you?
I have not thought about that, but
Oh,
I can
I
see,
love storytelling. So
I could see that. I could see Andrew having a series and all the different things that he could get into every day. So I don't think it would be
yeah.
hard to come up with material.
So I really enjoyed everybody's book. I read everyone's book cover to cover, and it was such a treat. So we'll start with you, Willa. Can you tell everyone where they can find your books? It's a series of 3 so far.
Yes, it's a
I
series.
know there'll be more.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the next one right now. But it's probably best to order my books on bookbaby.com. They do printing on demand and they'll send it right to you immediately. They can also be ordered on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. We would say walmart.com, but we know what we're thinking about that situation right now. So let's just probably stick to Book Baby. That would be the best one.
And tell everybody the names of your books.
Okay, so there are 3 of them. The first one is Andrew Dennis Harper Davis. And this is the one where we're introduced to Andrew and the fact that he has ADHD. And you notice on every book, Andrew at some point puts his superhero costume on because that's when he's using his superpowers. The next one is Andrew Dennis Harper Davis, Clean Your Room. And this one hit really close to home because those were some issues that we had to deal with. And the last one is probably my favorite. It's Andrew Dennis Harper Davis and his favorite girl, Layla. And Layla was the Cocker Spaniel that we had for 16 years. We got her when she was 9 weeks old. She was a Christmas present from my son, Jeremy, and that's highlighted in the story as well.
So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And SHAREE and RHONDA, could you please tell everybody where they could find your book?
You can find our book currently at Amazon.com. You can purchase the soft copy, softback, or paperback, or the Kindle version, ebook version.
Please tell everyone the title.
Oh, yes. The Resolution Pack, the blueprint to achieving health and wealth together as a family.
Thank you. And CC Lamb, can you tell everybody, I don't have your first book, so please share that information as well.
The first book, Vindication, a page turner, so I'm told. And the second book, Weeds of Cain, they both can be found on Amazon.com.
You ladies did a fantastic job with your books, and I'm looking forward. I'm about to come out with my next book, so I have some behind the scenes questions to talk to each of you about, and I want to thank you all for coming to the show. Please join us next time on The Love of Our Community Speaks. I'm your host, Marcie Novella, Marcie Novella. Please follow me on social media, hashtag Alvin Represents. I want to thank you once again for all coming to the show. And the next time, I hope to get you in the studio here in New York City. Stay tuned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.